Hello, everybody. My name's Chris Fisher. I'm with Army Contracting Command at Aberdeen Proving Ground. They asked Colonel Best and myself to come up here to talk through some of the contracting mechanisms through the marketplaces and other open solicitations to help kind of connect the dots on some of what you heard this morning. So what we're going to talk about is some activities outside of what the Fuse does through the SBIR Sitter and the other activities they have. So these are other opportunities to engage to get your products and capabilities in front of the Army. So just some quick background on me. I know Colonel Best has introduced himself a couple of times, but for myself, I represent Army Contracting Command at APG, the Digital Center of Excellence. I'm the chief of the contracting office there. So we work across all the Army contracting enterprise, providing best practices, procedures. We talk with industry all the time about different methods with digital procurements, agile methodologies. We also execute a lot of contracting actions ourselves on a different side, and then also host the Army Open Solicitation, which is one of those marketplaces I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. So just to kind of reiterate what's already been said this morning a lot, the Army is looking at going from the requirements-led acquisition side to more of a capabilities-led acquisition. So we're looking at these open solicitations, we're posting problem statements, statement of objectives, capabilities and need, not prescribed specs, SALs with 1,000 shall statements. The idea is we don't always know the holes in our swing. We want you to show it to us in many of these cases. And by doing a more of a CSO approach, we're seeing a lot more benefit coming back from industry. Letting you lead first, showing us those dual use technologies, and helping us understand kind of what we're missing out on and where we can take the effort. So to kind of get into the first one, the CSO authority, Commercial Solutions Opening, it's been around for a little bit as a pilot, but recently it's been enacted in the DFARS, and even further NDAA updates have made it even wider and more open. So right now the DFARS will say it has to be an innovative source, but with the NDAA updates, that's going to open up to any commercial item, commercial service, or NDI. So it's really showing the way that Congress is asking us to go with leaning into what this capability can do. So CSOs, different than traditional FAR procurements. They're usually two phases, starting off with a low barrier to entry, usually in the form of white papers or some other early demonstration to kind of see who's closest to what we're looking for, and then we go into multiple phases after that. Some marketplaces have specific phase 2s, phase 3s, some kind of change it as you go. But these could be live demos, pitches, technical challenges, anything to kind of really see the capability versus a paper drill. We see this as a real benefit to industry, not having to write 150-page proposals for every response, and instead tell us a little bit about yourself, then come show us. And we found a lot more benefit in that situation. Another real beneficial aspect of CSOs too that we found is the kind of the O in CSO. These are open. You'll find public marketplaces. You'll find them on sam.gov. You'll find every challenge that comes out is accessible to anybody. You don't have to pay to get into an IDIQ, pay to get into an OTA consortium. These are open and available for anybody to kind of give us your best shot, show us where you are, and start that conversation. So that's a bit about CSOs. I want to talk a little bit about the Army Open Solicitation, then I'll shut up and I'll pass it along. So the Army Open Solicitation is something we released last May 2025, coming after the Software Acquisition Pathway Memo direction, where to get after software acquisition pathway programs on that planning stage, the mandatory source was the CSO to OT. We wanted to make sure we had a platform built for Army contracting officers to leverage. So we built that for both calls for solutions and for what we call ACGs, or active capability gaps. So to help explain those a little bit, I'm going to use two other examples that may be a little more familiar. So DIU, the Defense Innovation Fund, has been doing areas of interest under the CSO authority for a couple years. That's where they post a specific call. It goes out, people respond to it. They make down selects based on demonstrations. And then also another familiar term may be the Trade Win Solution Marketplace. That's run by OSW CDAO. And you submit a live pitch in there against general topic areas they're evaluated and they could be determined awardable, and they sit on that marketplace, and then any contracting team across DOW can then access that and begin a conversation. The Army Open Solicitation does both of these. It allows that same sort of flexibility, maybe without the fancy front page that Tradewinds has right now, but we're working on that. So think about CSOs that could have either that broad topic or they could be individual calls that go out for discrete problem sets. So that's a lot of talking. I want to pass it over to Colonel Best to talk about the UAS marketplace.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. Before we actually walked on stage, we were looking at these pictures before we came up to, and we're like, yeah, we need to get our pictures redone, maybe with some more gray hair, some bags under our eyes too. I know mine's like 12 years old too, but all good things. I'm still happy. I'd still be smiling in that picture. Nonetheless, refresher again, marketplace, what we're trying to do with the U.S. marketplace in particular, and the contracting piece of it I want to talk about too. I will say I'm not a contracting professional in particular. I've done a contracting job, but I'd say I'm more of a novice. Probably more dangerous than anything. So if you have any specific contracting questions, I'm going to turn over to my man Chris here. Nonetheless, Chris just talked about the commercial solutions opening. I talked about it as well this morning too. Again, it's a broad commercial solutions opening. It's more or less open in perpetuity, saying bring all things drones to our marketplace. There's 13 areas of interest within there. You can look at the actual CSO for what those are. I'm not going to spout those off. And within that CSO, there's really kind of like two pathways to get into the U.S. marketplace. And so I'll talk about specifically that onboarding process. So the first one is you submit an initial acceptance packet. So you're responding to the call for a solution. You have a system or a product that you want to get into the marketplace. You submit a packet, which you'll find on, again, usmarketplace.army.mil. The packet, basic information about your company and the product that you want to onboard into the marketplace. We'll work with you to make sure we have all the data in there, because it's truly important that we get all the data in that packet too, because that's what's going to inform your actual product page on the marketplace. So when that gets populated, it's directly from that data. After we have all that taken into our office, we do a basic demonstration. And so that can be in Huntsville at UH or one of the other ranges when we get up into the Group 3 spaces somewhere across the country too. But the one thing I want to say, we are trying to verify your specifications that you've listed in the initial acceptance packet. But if you already have test stuff done with other sister services, if you've done it with other government agencies, bring that to us too, because that can be an avenue to streamline the process of getting in the marketplace. So initial acceptance packet, demo, and at that point you moved into a provisional phase. Now, if you already have NDA compliance certified by a third-party recognized assessor that I talked about this morning that work with DCMA, again, we've established basic ordering agreements with those 6 recognized assessors already, and you already have NDA compliance, we take you into the cleared phase, which is the final phase where you can actually start buying in bulk and we can start scaling up because you are NDA compliant. If you're not NDA compliant, you stay in the second stage, which is the provisional phase. So we can work with you to help establish NDA compliance. Our soldiers can buy the equipment for testing and training, but again, it cannot go on the Army network at that point. So you can start collecting feedback off your systems even though you don't have NDA compliance set just yet. So feedback is good. Again, we want to be as flat with our communications as possible with you as industry. So even if you don't have NDA compliance, we'll start getting you feedback from soldiers so they can tell you what they like and what they don't. And then you have the capability to actually choose how you react to that information. It's a business decision at that point. Okay, so that was the first phase, initial acceptance packet, provisional phase, then the cleared phase. The second way to get on to the UAS marketplace is through an innovative warfighter solution, like what Chris was talking about. Essentially, it's a pretty simple white paper you submit to us, which follows on with like a demonstration that we pull you in and have a further conversation to see if this is the technology we want to get into the marketplace. I've been talking to a lot of people out here in the crowd today. If we don't have something specific, like for our call for solutions for Group 1, Group 2 launched effects, as well as platoon echelon call for solutions that was just published Friday, innovative warfighter solution is your pathway into the marketplace. As we have additional calls for solutions that come out specifically with Group 3, probably other launch effects, other payloads as well, you can go through the normal 3-step process I said with the IAP provisional and cleared. But otherwise, innovative warfighter solution is your best friend, and it's a relatively easy process. It's ongoing, so you can submit your papers when ready. We review them, and then we can pull you in to do a demo and figure out how we get you into the marketplace. Should be pretty seamless for you. One thing I do want to highlight is just a couple of the calls for solutions that will be coming out soon, just to give you guys a good demand signal. All right, so I already mentioned the SRR one. That one just came out. The next one is going to be with our Tactical Uncrewed Aircraft Systems Office, so JTAR's additional vendors. So if you're familiar with the Joint Tactical Autonomous Aerial Resupply System, can move 150 pounds. Right now it's service for the Army. We're looking to try to get other competitors into that space. So a call for solution should be coming out this quarter. Can't tell you the exact date, so probably the next month or two. So a call for a solution for that. Also, for long-range reconnaissance, so at the battalion echelon, we're going to have a call for a solution come out to that also this quarter and third quarter fiscal year 26. Also in third quarter fiscal year 26, we'll have a brigade U.S. sources sought notice that's going to come out, which will eventually lead into being in the marketplace too. Funding is a big thing behind the brigade stuff. And it looks like in first quarter of fiscal year 27, so in this fall, we'll have a brigade U.S. call for solutions, so specifically to the brigade. So we have the initial sources sought, and then we'll back it up in the fall with the brigade one as well. Lots more. All right, another big topic, just hit on some other things within PMUS. I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here, Chris, but with all of the U.S. talk. But Group 4, the short VTOL, short takeoff, vertical takeoff and landing. So a draft request for proposal will be coming out in about a month or two. So we'll be sending that out to industry to get feedback from you guys, because obviously that's important. We want to make sure we get it right. And the formal request for proposal is going to come out in fourth quarter of fiscal year 26, along with a prototype award for the Group 4 effort in first quarter 27, so also in the fall. So just wanted to highlight some of those call for solutions that will be coming out to give you guys an accurate demand signal. What I'd say is watch sam.gov, or you can just go to the U.S. marketplace, .army.mil. It has vendor openings listed on there, and then all these calls for solutions are there, and you can click on it, and it'll take you right to sam.gov. With that, I can turn it back over. If you have anything else, Chris, otherwise you can open up for questions.
Yeah, a couple of points there I wanted to kind of lead to. One, I think you'll find in the CSO world that not everybody's going to have such a clear pipeline of what's coming out for a call for solution. We found that low barrier to entry for industry has also led to a low barrier of proposal or posting for our contracting teams. So a lot of times we have something briefed as an option, and then it's posted the next week. And we know that's not really giving industry a lot of time to kind of be prepared for that. So we're aware of it. We're trying to work through that problem. Speed is paramount right now. So bear with us on that. And I think it's incumbent on the contracting centers too, to make sure that we're not making these initial white papers too burdensome, where it's going to take a team to work around the clock for 10 days to get a response in. So just want to kind of head that off right away, say that that's an excellent pipeline. I know the Army Open Solicitation doesn't have that same level of foresight into what's about to be posted. And then I'd also just wanted to kind of provide some recommendations from where I see it and where we talk with industry. So one, on sam.gov, these CSOs, I would mark follow on those as many times as you can. You'll see new postings come out for new calls. You should be able to subscribe to DIU calls. You'll be able to see anytime something's posted on the sam.gov piece. Sometimes they're nice and they have a fancy portal page like the UAS Marketplace does. Fantastic, but everything is, at the end of the day, tied back to SAM. So the Army Open Solicitation, the way that works is there's a home page, and I'll make sure everybody gets the link. There's a home page for it. Every call that's posted is added to the link section at the bottom on SAM. So if you follow the AOS homepage, every time a new call gets posted, you'll get the update, something has been added, and you'll be able to see what it is. So that's important. I would also, especially for this crowd, if you have AI in your name, I would look at the Tradewin Solutions Marketplace. If you haven't already submitted there, I'd recommend it. It's just another avenue to have your capability in front of more and more contracting teams across the OW. And when you come to these trade shows and you talk to program offices or saying, how can I find you? You could say, hey, I've submitted an ACG, I've been evaluated, I'm on the UAS Marketplace. I also am on the Tradewinds Marketplace. It may be a little bit repetitive in the beginning to kind of get your capability out there, but I would recommend exploring all those options as you go. It's not directly related to this piece, but I wanted to bring it up because I know SIBR Sitter is a big piece here. And I just wanted to talk through a little bit about SIBR Phase 3 authority that's out there. Pay attention to these SIBR announcements. The SIBR Phase 1, Phase 2 program is fantastic, but where something can really scale and commercialize is in that Phase 3. And for a contracting center, that means the competition piece is already handled. We can go direct to contract you in it may be a different use case than what was proven out in the Phase 2. So very highly recommend looking at that program, paying attention, keeping track. Hey, I do have a successful Phase 1. Are you familiar with the Phase 3 process when you're talking to a program shop trying to make those connections? So I just wanted to make a little plug for that. And I think I'm out of topics. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one other thing I forgot to add on to just in the process. So again, ACC, Army Contracting Command, has been just absolutely phenomenal teammates as we worked through the whole drone dominance process. But the speed with which we're able to award contracts and get capability out to our soldiers it's incredible from where we were in the past. So specifically, I can talk about what we're doing at Army Contracting Command Redstone. After you do your demonstration, as I said before too, we establish a basic ordering agreement, a BOA, with everybody, which has your basic terms and conditions and statement of objectives of operating within the marketplace. So you clearly know, hey, this is where I need to set my pricing based off all these different things, training packages, exactly what my capability is going to be. It has a GCS, it has 2 batteries, whatever it's going to be. You can set that in there. You can have the range pricing in there as well too. So 0 through 9, it costs this much. 10 through 19, it costs this much, and so forth, with economies of scale. The one thing I do want to point out to everybody within the marketplace too is that everybody can see everybody's price on there as well too. So it's a different approach. I think it's great for competition out there to ensure that we get the most players in the space and that we do get the best capability at the best price for our soldiers too, and we're doing good by our taxpayers as well too. So just wanted to throw that out there as well too. ACC is absolutely doing amazing things right now, and we could not have done it without them.
I wish I could take credit for that one, but that's a different contracting center. And so we are now aligned with the PAEs. So each PAE is aligned to a different contracting center, a different senior contracting official associated with each one. So as you talk through PAEs, you know the structure. So APG, we're aligned with C2, CC2, and the ACC Redstone works with this team, and then Detroit Arsenal. So there's only 4 of them now, so it's a little easier to keep track. But just to highlight that piece, but we're all talking. I think you find that all of us are kind of singing the same tune, and culture change doesn't happen overnight, but I think there's enough people out there moving towards this new way of acquisition. So with that, I'm good for questions.
When industry submits into the marketplace, do they need to account for training and maintenance in their proposals?
Training, definitely. When you actually see the marketplace too, it's going to be something you can toggle on or off as a unit. So if you've already procured the product, you don't need an initial training package, but you can select that on there. So training, definitely. What was the second piece?
Maintenance, sir.
Maintenance. So the way we're going with the marketplace in particular too, especially with these Group 1 and 2 systems, a lot of these are going to be attritable, consumable, expendable systems too. Units will be able to buy individual components on there to get replenishment for their parts in the future. So I think batteries, and we have it laid out clearly on there if you can buy those specific products on there. As far as like maintenance stuff, most likely the stuff should be very intuitive so they can fix it on their own. I know right to repair is huge right now too, so that's a carrot we're talking with industry about to do that as well. Being able to share those CAD diagrams, be able to actually do the 3D printing to do replacement parts in the field as well too, again, without the reliance on field service representatives. We also kind of as a backup plan too, if people are having a little bit more difficulty in getting the capability out to units in particular, we have established a relationship with Letterkenny Depot as well too, to be able to assist with that maintenance piece as well. But yep, training, and then spares and repairs will all be a part of that. Property accountability will be another piece in there too. We're working to get an exception to policy with the Army, G4 in particular too, to do property accountability via the marketplace storefront website versus having to go through the whole process that they would normally have to do. You know, units doing property book, I've got it accountable, I have to go into Geeks Army. We're trying to make it so the storefront can just talk to those different websites to update the accountability to make it as intuitive and black and white as possible for our units.
Hey, Joe Lafko, Archias. Hey, quick question on the componentry side. So for those of us that make componentry, subcomponentry for platform agnostic systems, we're always, specifically at PMUAS, hey, join the marketplace, come join us. Is there a timeline for go live for componentry outside of, let's call it, your basic motors and batteries and wiring looms that we're thinking about with the latest RFI that came out for requirements or capability needs, thinking electronic warfare or kinetic payloads and so on and so forth? Have you got a timeline in mind for that, sir?
Joe, I don't want to answer your question just because it's you. I'm kidding. No, we're looking at the we're looking at the end of May. We're doing a test case right now with one payload to work through our processes. So far it's been successful, so hopefully we can pull that to the left further, but end of May is kind of our target. It's also the next time we're going to do a significant update to the actual functionality of the website too. We've been collecting a ton of feedback from industry as well as soldiers on what they like and what they don't like, and we're listening to that feedback. And we're incorporating those changes into it just to make it more intuitive for everybody too. But yeah, end of May timeframe will be when we're looking specifically for payloads and other components as well too. So expect that to be backed up with a call for solution. Good question.
Hey Jeff, Jason Davis from Shield AI again. What's the biggest hurdle that you're facing in the marketplace as you go from Group 1 and 2 to larger platforms? And how can industry help you with that hurdle?
Beyond the obvious of funding, that's a big piece with the Group 3 space and higher as well too. But as we're seeing with the DOG group, I think the funding's coming in. The other piece with it as well, the purpose statute, the pick and stick, I think we're getting a different read right now as we speak from the Undersecretary of the Army on that one, along with OGC, but that was a big piece. Being able to use different colors of money to buy the same piece of equipment. I think we should have a memo on that here in the coming weeks. As far as scaling up, we haven't gotten reprieve on a lot of the things that we did get for Group 1 and Group 2 from the Drone Dominance XOR, like your AWRs as well. I get it. A Group 3 system is much, much bigger. If it hits something, it's going to cause damage, probably a lot more than a Group 1 or Group 2. So getting reprieve from some of those things and figuring out how we can streamline that process is going to be huge with that as well too. I mentioned the pick and stick stuff as well, but again, I think we're going to have that. I think that's probably the biggest thing is figuring out those, and then ATO and ATC. I've got a meeting, I think, tomorrow morning with the Army CIO to talk about that process of how we get all these things to be able to connect to the actual network. So we send it out to the units, they've got the equipment, but then they don't have the ability to necessarily get an ATO or actually connect to the network when they take this overseas. So we're trying to figure out how we can streamline that process. And so that's where the discussion is going to be tomorrow with the CIO, because if we have 100 disparate systems out there, thousands of these disparate systems, who's racking and stacking, what's the priority? And then we can't tell these units that, hey, just because you bought the system, you can't connect to the network. So we're trying to figure out that piece. That's one of the biggest pieces that's kind of hurting my head right now.
This isn't a question, it's just a statement. I'm with the U.S. Army Fuse and Contract Support. If you are curious about the current SBIR solicitations, we do have a flyer in the coffee room back there that also features an X-Tech Phantom competition that ends with a SBIR opportunity. But yeah.
That's the best type of question. Thank you.
So Ryan Castoni from WebAI over in the corner here. Just wanted to offer up, if there's anybody from industry or on the investor side that wants to talk about going through the Army open solicitation process, happy to talk about our experience. Chris and his team are fantastic. He didn't pay me to say that. And it's just one thing you need another perspective. So if anybody wants to talk, happy to talk about it.
Perry Labs, in line with General Gibbs about developing an ecosystem of capabilities as we look at grouping uncrewed assets together, both air and ground. What are your thoughts on must-have capabilities for forward BLOS C2 nodes. Because eventually we got to figure out a way to orchestrate these things at like a company command post at that echelon. So as you guys go about that, what are some of the prime problems or considerations we need to account for when developing a solution for that? Thank you.
No, that's a great question, and I think that's just like what General Gibbs was talking about this morning. We're going to need your assistance on that process. Figuring out kind of what the common standards are, what is the best way to do those different things. That's where we need to rely on you guys to help support that process. In my office in particular, we've got the uncrewed vehicle control. We have that, and that's really going to try to make it so it's easier to be able to translate going from system to system, utilizing it, but then also to pass that data back and forth as well too. I'd say just be open to come share data with the Army, just like we're going to start sharing more data with you guys too. Come and work together to try to figure out what the solution is going to be. We can't figure it out on our own, which is obviously why we're having these demand forums with you guys as well too. So that's a wicked hard problem. Figuring out how we can actually get all these things to be interoperable and communicate, not only across the Army, at all these different echelons, from platoon all the way up to division and corps, but how do we do it as a joint service as well too, and we get out of our stovepipes. I think the communication across the Army as well as the Joint Force right now is kind of like it's never been before. I think we're over-communicating. I talk to the Navy, I talk to the Air Force and the Marine Corps pretty much on a weekly basis too about, hey, these are our problems. How are you guys going after us, going after those solutions as well? But I think we need to do an even better job of pulling you guys as industry into that process as well. So maybe didn't fully answer your question. It's complex. I wish I had a great answer to it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Chris.
Just that at 1440, C2IN is also talking and would love to talk more C2 nodes, I'm sure.
What we don't need, thanks. What we don't need is the same thing that we had for Grey Eagle, which is a 120-man company to manage one platform. What we don't need is a bunch of abstraction layers that make the magic of the platforms that you're building suck. So every time I hear the term common controller, what I really hear is a piece of shit that takes away all the cool stuff that you guys are doing in your platforms and it abstracts it all away. That's what we don't need. I do not need something that is so bandwidth intensive for control that we can't actually use it in a place where the comms will be degraded to nothing. So being able to actually put abstract autonomous behaviors into play, distill them down, share them across vendors and platforms so that if you have a vertical, that's great. Your black box is probably really cool. But if I cannot share behaviors between them, your black box becomes really hard to work with. Those are the things that we don't need and some of the things that we do need. We don't have all the answers. That's a perfect response, Jeff. Like being able to say, hey, like this is why we're having these conversations. But what we cannot do is the same thing that we've done before where we said, hey, you've won this, you've got your black box, no one, you get to win it forever. They have to be open. And I do not mean open to your proprietary architecture. I mean open in a way that other people can play. I'll talk more about standards later, but I will remind everyone, JSON is a standard. TCP/IP is a standard. We do not need to add more standards on top of that.
But I think you might have gotten off a little bit easier than everyone expected. All right, y'all, let's say thank you so much for being so candid today.